Thank you very much, Dr. Harrison, for being here with us, with Voce di New York for today's interview. As the first time that we interview you as a chairwoman, as the most important person at the NIAF. By the way, we say NIAF, right, or NIAF? Because I heard this.
Oh, it's like gravy and sauce. You could say NIAF, you could say.
Okay, we usually say in Italy NIAF, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so well, the first thing I want to ask you is the NIAF now is 45 years old, almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you heard the first time, do you remember when you were like a student, who knows, when you heard the first time about NIAF, what did you think about it? What was your thought?
Well, I was very thrilled because, especially when you're in your 20s and you're looking ahead, um, you want to know more about your heritage. And it's good to be around people who have that experience and you can hear their stories and you take away something of strength for yourself so that you hear what they went through and different generations, of course, coming to the United States from Italy. Originally, at the turn of the century, 1895 was the big migration. And I would hear stories from my grandfather about his father and how hard they worked. But the thing I took away from these stories in terms of the Italian experience in America is that our ancestors didn't wait to become important. They felt they were important to begin with. They had this strength of their heritage, and they were very confident in their values. So that would include working very, very hard so you can make a life for your family. But also, a very key part of this that has really shaped me through my life and whatever success I've enjoyed and influenced me, that if you go through life feeling like a victim, you're not going to get much joy. So even though they didn't have anything, and there was great prejudice, as you know, for Italians coming to this country, very dangerous for them in many communities. And you could even say it was racism, but they always held their head up high. And when the weekend came or Sunday came, they had church, they had food, they had joy, and they had life, and they had a spirit of being alive that I always felt very inspiring.
Very, very good. And then I want to ask about NIAF. What are the various missions of NIAF that you retain to be the most important to preserve and strengthen? What should be eliminated? What should be created that doesn't yet exist? I mean, now now you are the leader.
Yes, yes. Well, I know what makes NIAF unique. It's the men and women that we have on our board. They come from all walks of life. They're all extremely successful, but most of them came from very humble group roots as you look back to their grandparents and great grandparents. And so what they provide to NIAF, which is a very modern organization, is the sense of heritage, but also a commitment to bringing along the next generation so they can succeed. So, for example, at our gala this year, we honored Dr. Anthony Fauci because we want to raise up research and science. And of course, we gave him the Leonardo da Vinci Award, a scientist, an artist, a person who encompassed everything. So our focus for NIAF, even though we are Washington, D.C. based, we are the only premier organization that maintains strong ties with the leadership in Italy as well. And we work with our current ambassadors, ambassador to Italy, Lou Eisenberg, and of course the Italian ambassador to the United States, Armando Varicchio, and very, very strong relationships with them because we want to strengthen those ties. And our scholarship for scientific research in Dr. Anthony Fauci's name is going to be given to a researcher, an Italian and an American. So this partnership continues, even though we're at a different place than our ancestors were. We're now in a position of power, and our mission is to make sure we use that power to help young people and others of Italian culture and heritage.
Very good. Many things that you said, I had some questions, so many, you already responding kind of several questions. But there is one thing, NIAF has sometimes in the past has been perceived more like a political organization or a lobby, if you want, a lobby in Washington for big things, you know, for kind of and not so present at local level, in the sense in the United States, through United States. There are other Italian American organizations, thinking to Fieri, Sons of Italy, and so on. And I want to ask you also, what is your relation of your organization with us other organizations? But my question is, in the future, through your leadership and with your experience that you have in the media and the education, do you plan to be more present, let's say your presence of NIAF in the schools, in the grassroots level of the community, of the Italian community across the country?
Yes, very, very good question. You know, you can't be everything to everyone and do things well. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that the millions of Italian Americans in this country are represented in the things they care about. So we have a wonderful Italian American delegation, Republicans, Democrats, and we work with them on a lot of issues across the board. At the same time, the reason we exist is because of our roots. And we have members in every state and throughout the United States. And we may be looking again at, you know, strengthening those memberships at the local level. But our board is very representative of a national look at the United States. And in terms of all the wonderful other Italian American organizations, so there are many, we work very closely with all of them. We're very independent, as they are, but you know, we come together on issues of concern. And so NIAF is usually the one they call when they need something done on Capitol Hill, or they want us to talk to somebody. But yes, in fact, we have some members on our board who are members of other organizations. So we have a very strong working relationship, and that's very important. We're not in competition with anybody.
Very good. In Italian, you know, I think many languages say l'unità no fa la forza, the unity is strength. So about Italian language, how important is for your organization the study of the Italian language, not only in America? I'm talking about also, for example, sending, you know, the students, American students to Italy, and vice versa. How important it is for your organization, the Italian students or even postgraduate students come then to America with the help of NIAF for doing
it's
more
critical.
experience.
The beautiful, beautiful Italian language. And we have given out so many grants to ensure that it is taught in schools and at the college level. And as you know, this is not an easy mission, because as English has really become the predominant language, Spanish, we want to make sure that Italian, the Italian language, does not get put into that category of, you know, ancient languages. It's the language of business, of art, of culture. And so NIAF is very aware of that. And our scholarships, that's really the heart and soul of our scholarships, to really reinforce our Italian heritage and culture, which of course puts language at the very top.
You know, still about the study abroad and the help that NIAF can do is, you know, with the COVID pandemic, it practically decimated, destroyed an entire group of school organizations that were very much active in the role of making this exchange with the United States, with the American students come. I'm thinking just to Florence, for example. They say that the city of Florence that was receiving so many Americans, young Americans coming there to study, is like a disappearing, it's not only a business, but a cultural relation that is disappearing. So does it NIAF as a plan maybe to help to see how this can be reconnected?
Well, one of the reasons I'm so proud of NIAF, and it underscores our really international presence. When the pandemic began, we worked very closely with leaders from the Italian government, with Ambassador Verricchio, to see what we could do in terms of pharmaceutical supplies. And it wasn't as if this is happening to a stranger. Now, of course, since that time, this has become a global pandemic, and we're all struggling to figure out what is life going to look like. Now we're fortunate that it looks as if there's going to be a vaccine that's going to be distributed sooner rather than later, but there's still going to be these challenges of people fearful of gathering the way they once did. There will be a group, though, and I believe it's a younger group, who are just waiting to travel. And so I would say maybe enjoy a little quiet in Florence now, because we're all going to come back very quickly.
They're really waiting for
as soon as we can. And in fact, the conversations I have with so many people, it's just, I miss Italy. I miss Italy. And it became, for non-Italian Americans as well, this was something they would do every year. It really meant something to them. And the world is having to recalibrate because of this terrible, terrible disease. I'm very proud of the fact that so many Italians and Italian American doctors and scientists have been part of this solution now, though.
Dr. Fauci at the top, and you picked him. And I'm sure, I had one of the questions, you already talked about him, so I'm not going to ask you more, but I had in my question, I wanted to ask, was the choice of Dr. Fauci, easy one in the sense everybody agree, or you had to have I don't know, an argument about it?
No, we, as Italians, we argue, and 5 minutes later we go out and have a glass of wine or espresso. But no, Dr. Fauci has been a supporter of NIAF for many, many years, comes to the gala. And in fact, when I interviewed him for our gala, I said, Dr. Fauci, you come back every year. It can't be just for the pasta. And he said, Pat, it is for the pasta. I can't imagine how they're able to serve 3,000 people pasta al dente. And he said, no, of course, not just the pasta, but the camaraderie and the feeling. And it's, again, goes back to what I said earlier. It's the strength you get when you're among this group of people that embrace you so much, and it's inspires you to go back and do the tough things you have to do. And that's basically what he said. So no, there was no discussion, no dissension. Everybody said, please, can we get him?
Very good. Yeah. Well, in Italy, in the United States, is known mostly for its cuisine, fashion, and art history. Well, do you believe that Italian Americans are knowledgeable enough about present day Italy with regard to other areas that it's well known for? In other words, how is NIAF positioning itself to have Italian Americans become more educated about present day Italy? And I want to say also vice versa. How many Italians know about the reality of Italian Americans in the United States? And what is NIAF doing or would like to do to have Italians to be more knowledgeable about you?
Well, I think in terms of NIAF's mission, that is the core of what we do. It's two halves of the whole. We honor our heritage, but we're living in modern life today. And the image of Italy, it's a romanticized Italy from even centuries ago. And yes, when you go to Italy, you can find the wonderful artifacts and the things throughout the country and in Rome. But Italy is a vibrant nation, going even beyond fashion and food, science, business. And that's why on our board, we have men and women who are at their top level in business, who do business in Italy. And our gala, with the exception of this one, because this one we just focused on Dr. Fauci, we always recognize the new Italy. We have a little bit of what you want to think about Italy, because you go for the beautiful scenery and the food and that feeling. But this is a modern country, and it's important that Italian Americans understand this, and also that Italians know what Americans' lives are like, Italians in America, because sometimes it can seem like two different people, Italians and Italian Americans.
I want to. We're going very fast, so we are in good. I think we will make
fine. Yes.
Yeah, no, but I want to now talk about something that was heard. I'm sure you heard this so many times, but I want to know your ideas about it, okay? And it's about how Hollywood and stereotypes of Italian Americans, that actors and director, let's think about great actors and director, Coppola, De Niro, Al Pacino, Martin Scorsese, promote, in a sense, with their art, because it's art. At the same time, they promote kind of a stereotype that damage a community sometimes. So, do you think that this is a problem, is an issue to address, or because it's hard, it shouldn't be touched, it shouldn't be addressed? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I do think, in terms of art can elevate, it can explain, it can inspire, but it can also provide an image that's not necessarily true. And if you're a grown-up, you can make those decisions. It's when you're very, very young and you may watch something and you think this sums up what an Italian American is. And I remember Justice Antonin Scalia basically saying, when he became, a Supreme Court justice, that the neighborhood, his family was so proud because up until then all of the stereotypical, stories about Italian Americans were mostly mafia or very, very negative. I will say, though, there is something about the storytelling of these great actors and directors and producers. So if you look at the trilogy of The Godfather, which is very Shakespearean in so many ways, you may not like some parts of it, but it's a story that people connect to. And I happen to feel more people are connected to and admire Italian Americans, because even in the most negative things that come through, there's always the character that's there for the family, that family. Now, sometimes these characters do things that are not so good for the family, but I'm not that concerned anymore. I'm really not. I think people are able to make the difference, unless it's really bad stuff and offensive, very offensive. But, and we've had several American television shows like Jersey Shore, whatever it was called, that was just horrendous, awful. But if you're talking about the movies that have been with us for many, many years, I'm not really concerned about it.
And I could say, for what the way you describe it, I have to add that you are, as an Italian American, you are proud of certain level of top artists like Scorsese, Coppola, Pacino, I mean De Niro. These people.
Oh my gosh, the body of work! Absolutely, how they've interpreted American life for us, and we had so many people in our tribute to Dr. Fauci, Leonardo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese, and once of course, the focus was on Dr. Fauci. But with all of these voices, if you're watching this, you're thinking, my gosh,
we published
American culture's Italian American.
We published your video with all with DiCaprio and everybody talking.
It was amazing. And Tony Bennett. And it's like, oh my gosh, if they all went away, we wouldn't have anything. That's an exaggeration. I realize other ethnic groups have made it.
People forget that the classic movies, now we are Christmas, right? But like That's a Wonderful Life. I mean, this classic movie, was Frank Capra, the director. Frank Capra, there is, born Sicilian, moved to Los Angeles.
And that's such a classic. It's a Wonderful Life. And I think it's especially important now as we're all trying to deal with this pandemic, whether in Italy or the United States. It's very difficult. You don't see your family. You're in front of a screen 24 hours a day. And we just need to support those safety measures to make sure that we get to that place a couple of months down the road where we can go out and we can gather and we can be together.
Dr. Harrison, another one touch that you probably was asked before, but again, we want to know your opinion. This summer, again, there was, I mean, it happens all the time, but this summer started again for Columbus Day. There was this controversy about the statues that a lot of Italian Americans felt hurt about that. But my question is, first of all, what is the official NIAF position on it, okay? About, you know, the discussion on the statues, they should be removed, not, and so on.
Right.
But also your opinion, could this day of pride for Italian Americans, right, the Columbus Day, be celebrated in another way? I mean, what is your opinion? What is about this? Because we know the next year will be the same again.
Yes, you know, I think it's unfortunate when people through the media are told they have to choose between one thing or the other. Everyone is proud of their heritage. And if we look back over centuries, we won't have any statues of anyone left because nobody is perfect. But Columbus represents something more than just a navigator to Italian Americans, a great navigator. This was the first symbol they had in this country when they had nothing. And it was their money, their dimes, their nickels, their pennies that really made these statues possible. And I don't think you really advance any group through violence against a statue. I do think people shouldn't have to choose between Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day. There are enough days where we can celebrate what we find positive about our culture. And I also think, in addition to Columbus, what NIAF is very proud of, because there's a film that's being worked on, and it's the life of Mother Cabrini. So we are looking forward not only to preserving Columbus and what he means to so many Italian Americans, but also to look ahead to someone like Mother Cabrini, which is not about statues really, even though there are statues of Mother Cabrini.
Sorry to interrupt, just Sunday, this Sunday, next Sunday.
Yes.
The Consul General, Francesco Genualdi, with Governor Cuomo, Representative Governor Cuomo, will celebrate a new statue at Battery Park in New York of Mother Cabrini.
And congratulations. My hometown of New York always comes through. That's wonderful. But I think we are, I hope we are moving into an era of respect and dignity for everyone, not at the expense of one group or another. We have to listen more. I saw a T-shirt. It's bark less, wag more.
I have a question again, and then we finish up. We really run, but this is important because it's still about division. You talked about the divisions, but it's about division within the Italian American community, and it's to do with especially this year of election. Okay.
Yes.
In the election, and we know what's happening still even today. There is a lot of division. I love that. And also a part of the feeling, for example, me as a journalist working here from Italy, you know, the question that was asked from radio, television, that were kind of interviewing me to tell, always they ask me this question: why the Italian Americans are for Trump? Or what? And I have to ask and say, no, well, not all the Italian Americans are for Trump, but it's true that it was perceived that the most of Italian Americans community were supporting the president in preferring the president than Biden. So my question is, first of all, if you have the same impression, or that there is the majority of the Italian Americans community were in favor of Trump, for President Trump, if you have an idea why, but also, and this is more for me, actually even more important as a question. In this period of strong division within the Italian American community, how does make your work at NIAF more difficult? And what will you do so as not to have this tremendous political division in this election here have negative effect on NIAF mission? What you will do to reunite the Italian American community despite this debate?
Well, that is a big question for all of our country right now, because we need to, I believe, in my opinion, there was an election and there will be an inaugural. And for the good of our country, we need to get behind the President of the United States and give him the opportunity to tell us what his vision is. We're going through this terrible, horrible pandemic. Divisiveness can actually kill us. So we really need to be focused on staying safe until we get this vaccine, and even beyond when we get the vaccine. I can tell you, although I don't know each and every person's political preference, but we have a board, it's nonpartisan. Some are Republicans, some are Democrats, some supported President Trump, some President-elect Biden. And I think what NIAF has to do is focus on our mission, which is evergreen, no matter who is president. And that is to advance our culture, all the values that I talked about earlier, to help young people, especially now, they have lost so much time in their education, and not spend time focusing on divisions. Because in my family alone, when we used to be able to get around the table for Thanksgiving, you could have someone from this party, someone from this party, everybody's yelling. But at least then we finally ate the turkey. Well, it's time to eat the turkey now and get on with it and be good civil servants, all of us in this civil society we call democracy, and make sure our democracy is strong, because we always look outside and say, what is the threat to us, to this country coming from outside? We can't afford to have the threat coming from inside to divide us. So that is my goal for NIAF. And I think you can be a member of NIAF and really be sad that your candidate lost, or you can be happy your candidate won, but get over it.
And maybe a NIAF is the only place in America where maybe we all of a sudden you could see on the table sitting and having a conversation about maybe the dinner. I don't know, Secretary of State Pompeo with Speaker Pelosi in a nice way.
You know, actually, we have events with people from different sides of the aisle in the leadership, from the administration, and on the Democrat side of the aisle. We've been doing that for a very long time, and through our congressional delegation. And when we get together, it is always, let's put this aside and let's talk about NIAF and our heritage and advancing our culture. And so that's how we will prevail.
Last question, and then I'll let you go within the 35 minutes that you told me. NIAF leadership, at least in the past, of course not today, lacked balanced female presence. Do you plan to extend leadership roles within the organization and open up more to women? And I will say as an example, no, because through NIAF, then coming extend this in the Italian American community, be a business and so on, where maybe in the past the presence of women has not been so appreciated.
Well, we have some very strong women on the NIAF board. Linda Carlozzi, who's a top-notch lawyer. Anita McBride, who was chief of staff to Mrs. Bush. Maria Capri Cafaro, who was the youngest member of the Ohio State Legislature and is now a commentator on MSNBC. And I know I'm forgetting other people and they're going to be yelling at me. But of course, I mean, the Italian woman is a very strong force. And really making things happen. And right now, there are more Italian American women who are at the CEO level, who are in politics. And so we would be thrilled to have those kinds of people join our board. Absolutely.
And the fact that the first lady on the
Is
20th of
Italian
January
American.
will be an Italian American for the first time.
I know. So how good
So
is that?
exactly. Will are you planning to organize something special for her in the near future?
You know what we're planning? The important thing is, will she plan to be part of it? Of course, yes. We look forward to it very, very much. They're going to have quite a lot of things to do. And as we look ahead the next several months, we will, of course, be doing that, just as we did with Mrs. Bush, who I think we made her an honorary Italian American. And we look forward to working with the future First Lady as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harrison. This was a very, very interesting. I hope that this is just the beginning of a relationship that we can talk
anytime
leadership.
I really love talking to you. This was great. You're a wonderful interviewer.
Thank you so much.